Slam, Music Survival Guide 27. We've got Neil Giraldo, an exceptional guitar player and musician, famously part of Pat Benatar's band. Quote from this episode: "Most of the time, when people fall into dark places, there's a part of their being, whether it's an artistic or creative side of them, that's screaming to get out." Keep listening to find out who said it and what it's all about. This is Jack Mangan. I'm riding shotgun on this one. Mark Pruett is our excellent lead interviewer for this one. You don't want to miss this one. It's a little too little, a little too late. What's up, everyone? Jack Mangan from Support Life and Music here. This is a Slam Summit Music Survival Guide, and this is a huge one for us around here. I'm gonna check my notes, so pardon me if I look to the side a little bit. But let me just tell you a quick story about me, and then I'm gonna STF you and turn things over to Mark. But in 1984, I was already a huge music fanatic, but I started my music collection with 12 tapes for a penny. And
Oh, nice.
And so all those tapes were huge for me and fundamental for me. And one of them was Get Nervous, which is, big deal. So, but I'm going to give a lot of the greatness of her song catalog to our guest right here, Neil Giraldo. Just, as a guitar player and songwriter myself, I got to give a lot of credit to listening to this guy. As much as, people talk about the other greats of the 80s and beyond, the Jimmy Pages and all that, but I got to give a lot of credit to Neil Giraldo as a guitar player. So that's it. No more compliments, Neil, but just we're starting off that way. But yeah, thanks so much for joining us today.
All right. Thanks for having me. Nice intro. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I didn't get to give any compliments. Come on, Neil.
Well, no, come on. Yeah, we all know what you're thinking. You're a great man. I'm telling you.
Well, thank you. We could just end the interview right there.
We're done.
Yeah, let's just make that the sound bite, and let's just publish that.
Right.
The expansiveness of your contributions is wide across the music industry.
Thank you.
Let's go back to 1979, and I want to talk about your time with Rick Derringer. There's so much iconic music and things that came out of that era that shaped you for decades to come. Take me back to that time and let's talk about life on the road. What was it like? And
that was,
how,
right. That was actually 1978. It was right at the end of 77, right in the beginning of 1978 is when I joined the band. And, I was a young kid. I just turned 22 in December. Right. So essentially I was just still holding on to 21 when I joined the band, and real young, real naive, full of energy, full of ideas. Couldn't wait to audition for Rick. That was a great moment in my life. It was very metaphysical because, I study a lot of philosophy and a lot of spirituality with the I Ching and the Kundalini and all those, and the Tao and all this stuff. Right. So I follow that strongly. And without that, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I wouldn't be here without the love of this young girl I met. And we were very young, like 14, 15 years old. Her name was Tara Bruno. And Tara Bruno was the one that introduced me to the I Ching and changed my life completely, changed it in every way possible in the positive direction. So anyway, joined Rick Derringer, went from playing small clubs to play in front of thousands and thousands. And it was a great experience. I don't know why Rick picked me out of I don't know how he can audition 200 guitar players, but he did. Right. So, and I was thankful he did. And boy, it was a great moment of my life. Very, very important thing. So
he picked you because he knew that you had the chops, and how he couldn't have known this, but those things took you into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I'm really interested in sort of talking about that. So you have this sort of foundation of spirituality, and you get on the road in 1978, and things were different back then in the business. So talk to me a little bit, did Rick Derringer, was there some sort of mentorship, how to stay safe, or, how to take care of yourself? What was that like?
No, it was it was there was a mentorship purely on the musical level.
Okay.
and it was phenomenal. I mean, it was a gift that I received to be surrounded by him. A brilliant guitar player, beyond, right? Just an amazing player. And we talked about songwriting, we talked about record producing. We talked a lot about all that stuff, right? So he was a great mentor. I mean, I was in a studio when I was 22. No, I think I just turned 23. Just turned 23 and did the record Guitars and Women with him, with Todd Rundgren producing and him. And I was just there to suck up all the information I could, right? And I ended up playing more piano on the record than guitar, but that's okay because I love piano. And he knew I loved songs and song structure. And I think that's another reason why he chose me. He sensed that I was about the song,
Sure.
and all parts of it, lyrics, melodies, everything, right? And he sensed that. And again, I couldn't have had a better mentor than him.
Sure.
Yep.
And that follows through with a lot of your work with John Waite, Rick Springfield, and the Del Lords. That bears out. And so thinking about that time when you were on the road, performing, you're in a strange city, were there any close calls, or can you think of any stories from that time that now that you think about it, you're like, oh shit, that was scarier than I realized at the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So yeah, many. I remember we were driving in a station wagon going from one gig to the next, and we were just doing some clubs. It might have been before we recorded the record, and there were just some club dates we were doing just to try the new material out and things like that. So we're driving this. Our road manager was a mercenary in the Vietnam War, tough guy, great guy, and he was driving a car, and we were driving, and all of a sudden we get hit from behind while we're on the freeway going 75 miles an hour, and it pushed us forward and went off the side of the road. And he was kind of shook up, which was surprising. It surprised me that he'd be shook up, and he was shook up, pulled out on the side of the road. I said, Chris, his name was Chris. I said, are you okay? He goes, yeah, but that was strange because everybody hit their heads like this out of nowhere. A few of the guys were sleeping. I was up with Chris. We pulled over, and then he said, you want to take the wheel for a bit? And I'd do anything. So sure, I got the wheel for him. We started driving. This person was drunk, and they were actually parked on the freeway, not in the fast lane, but the second to the fast lane. And I'm driving. All of a sudden, I look at it and go, oh my God. And then I pulled over really quick, and he was out drunk in the middle of the freeway. And I was just like, anything could have happened, right? Anything could have happened. Yeah. Cause you're moving fast. It's late at night, 2, 3 in the morning. Right. So, but moments like that, just crazy stuff that happens out there.
So how did you cope in the back of that station wagon? Because mobile phones weren't a thing at the time, and how did you pass the time?
Well, we called well, first of all, for that thing, we called the police after when we pulled over. We said we just got hit. We don't know where the driver went. It was a hit and run. He just took off. Then when we saw him again,
there he is.
Yeah, no cell phones. It's so hard to believe there weren't cell phones then. When you think about it now, it's like it's like air or water, right? So
yeah.
We just we did the normal grind, got to the gig, and did it. And we traveled by plane, by car, by bus, anything, right, to go to gig to gig. We weren't the big shows, we weren't headlining, but we were opening up for big people, people you may have heard of.
Did you do a lot of songwriting maybe in those moments?
I did, but the universal, the way the universe works is very special, Mark. So
yeah.
I was writing a lot of material, a lot of songs. In fact, when I joined Rick's band, before I did, and I auditioned for him first, he goes, okay, can you come back? And I didn't have any material on me. And he goes, well, could you bring some material? I said, I'll tell you what, I'll go home and I'll write a new song for you. I'll bring it to you. So I went, wrote it, recorded it. When I came back the second time, I played him a song. He goes, okay, you can write songs. But honestly, I had songs, and a lot of ideas, but I don't know. To me, I look back then, they weren't that good. I mean, I don't know. We didn't use any on the record with Rick, so I'm thinking, oh, geez, okay, they're not that good. Then I meet Patricia, and the first song I write is "We Live for Love," and it's a hit. So that's how it begins, and 100 songs later,
sure,
here I am, right? So, but I just wasn't ready. I was more interested in just being around it. You know, as a young person, you're going from playing in front of 50 people, 100 people at the Brown Derby Hotel. I mean, the Brown Derby Steakhouse. Next thing you know, you're in front of thousands. You know, it goes quick, right?
Yep.
So,
and it's pretty amazing that you were grounded enough to navigate that change, because there's a lot of people that don't make it through that change, that don't have the ability to find their ground, and a lot of things kind of go haywire. So,
well, that's why I stress the spirituality for everyone. You know,
sure.
It's mandatory.
Sure.
It's good for the body. It's good for the soul. What's good for the mind is good for the soul. You know, you got to integrate all those things. Had I not had that, I wouldn't have been able to deal with any of it, any at all. And it kept me grounded, but not grounded on earth. You know, I'm grounded somewhere up there, because I'm really not down here. And I don't know why, but I listen, and, you know, things move by themselves. I just let them, you know, so.
Having been around you in person a couple of times, that's absolutely true. Is you are one of the most rock steady people, no matter what, no matter what's happening around you, no matter what sort of chaos is happening, you're just there. I've seen you on stage several times, and you're just like a clock ticking on the stage, and just taking care of business, and it's awesome to watch.
Well, thank you. I'm trying to channel from another place. You know,
That's okay.
I'm just a custodian. So I'm just trying to stay 111% in that moment. Because if you're not in that moment, that's what I always thought is, then don't be there. You don't belong. But if you're there, be there.
I think
period.
I think your relative Nunzio is watching over you and keeping you grounded, and keeping the good karma coming your direction.
I'm sure. Yeah. Thank you.
I swear, if there's ever an opportunity for me to meet your wife, I will have a conundrum as to whether it's okay to call her Pat or Patricia. I always think that sort of the Patricia is very sort of formal for you. So that brings up an interesting question for me next. When you're on the road and when you're doing all of these things, how are you maintaining balance with your loved ones? For you, it's a little bit easier because you travel with her, but in the times when you're separate and when you're doing other things, how does that work?
I don't know. I never analyzed it. I lean on, you know, I read all the time. I write all the time. I'm always writing. I'm always reading. So a lot of that is taken up by time, right?
Yep.
All the time. So I don't need to look for a place to do substances and go off and get off my focus. I don't. I try to get back in, right? So it's not. I mean, it's what I've always done. You know, I mean, it's hard to explain. It just happens. I mean, there's days when, you know, it's like when you exercise, right? You know, those days when if you're going to go in the gym in the morning and you got 5 hours or less sleep, geez, I don't really want to do that. You go in there, what happens? Maybe one of the best workouts you have, right?
Yeah.
Something happens, right?
Yep.
And like I said before, that quick little blurb, I said it was from Geek Love. It's Fortunato, the one character, and there's things that move around in the house. All these places, things move. They move by themselves. I just let them. I kind of let the universe kind of do that. Everything moves by itself. I just let it, you know. So.
Do you have any mantras or anything that you kind of repeat when you're in those moments, like where you're challenged, a moment or something comes up to challenge you, or is there something you repeat? You say, okay, let me just, or do you use it more of a feeling thing, more of an empathy kind of thing?
Yeah, I don't think much. There's no mantra. I usually try to look up, try to get a grip. I also know that if you can wait 10 seconds to speak or a thought, you try to get empty in that 10 seconds, you can usually align. It's sort of like when I used to smoke cigarettes and stuff like that. When I quit finally, somebody told me, why are you going to smoke when you finish a cigarette? And as soon as you finish it, you're going to be thinking about the next one. So before you light a cigarette, wait 10 seconds. Before you say something, wait 10 seconds. So it's just it's like stillness.
Yeah.
You know, try to, you know, gather that. And like I said, some days it all goes haywire. And when it does, it's just like, what are you going to do? You just kind of let it go, you know?
Well,
Hey.
one of the things that's really gratifying about your profile is you've you've got this huge streak of giving back. For many, many years, you've been a champion for children.
Mm.
As of recently with Three Chord Bourbon, you have invested and you have doubled down on giving back to many music related causes. I'm looking here at my notes and I'm trying to make sure, um, there are so many organizations that have recognized you for your support, and
Right.
I'd really like to talk about that. How did that come about in your career?
It came about because of my father, because we didn't grow up with money. He was a carpenter. My mother was a housewife. And he would go to places and he'd work at people's houses. You know, he worked for a construction company and they would go around and build houses. And he would do some remodeling stuff. And then he was such a nice guy, had a great heart and a tough guy. Let me just tell you this guy was tougher than nails, man, but the sweetest guy. Actually, I had a dream about him the other night. It was really cool. But he would do these jobs and these people would say, Tony, do you want a bicycle? You know, do you want this? Oh, sure. And then he'd come home like, wait, where'd you get that, Papa? I did this job and this woman gave me a bicycle. Then it happens, come home, he goes, you want a piano? I go, you got a piano? He says, yeah, it upright. He said, with broken keys and everything. So that's how I learned how to play piano. And he got the piano and we put it in the basement and I started playing. So in 1980 or 81, I retired my father. He didn't have to work any longer. And every day I would call him, he said, thank you. Every single day. Thank you, son. He never stopped doing that. And I watched how he lived his life and I went, dang, I want to be like him. I'll never be like him. This guy was just off the charts sweet. I can't even begin to tell you how this, but let me just tell you toughness about it, first of all. He would go hunting sometimes, and I'd go to school and have actually a rabbit's foot, not just the whole foot of the rabbit. Like, okay, thanks, Pop. Like this, and then when he'd come home after the hunting, he'd put all the birds, all the pheasants and everything he shot, squirrels, rabbits, everything, and he'd put them on my mother's clothesline in the basement. And he also got my cousins to come over, and he would give us all buzz cuts. My cousin Skeeter and JoJo and little Louie, everybody. And then downstairs he'd give everybody a haircut. That's how insane he was with that. But the same with sweetness, right? So that's what that is about. I try to carry on that and try to be good to people. And I belong to a lot of organizations. The Children's Life Saving Foundation is fantastic. I've been with them about 30 years, maybe even longer.
Yep.
So many of them. But that's it feels good to help if you can, and I try to do the best I can, and I'm always there to help, especially for young people, right? Young people and children, very important. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Both you and Pat are very well recognized for your support for many children's organizations, and that's
Mm-hmm.
great. And I love the root cause. I love that it's just been embedded in you from way back when. And um, I know you lost your father not recently, but just here in the most recent past, and I'm sorry about that. But he was
All good.
obviously an excellent man because he instilled a lot of great things in you.
Yeah, I always think about the poor people, the men out there that had abusing fathers, or they come home drunk, and I hate to hear that for them. It's sad to hear that. So I was blessed to have such a great father. Really, even when he passed, it was. I think he would have been 98 this year or something like that. But I think he was 94 or 95 when he died. Like he used to always go. He goes, "Son of a bitch, son, I don't think I'm ever gonna die." That's what he would say. So,
I you know the support that you give, also goes on to supporting music organizations. And I think that that's a great thing that you've also done.
Yes.
Can you think of a great sort of memory, or is there something that you're especially proud of, giving back to musicians? And I ask this because, Support Life in Music is on a mission to shine a light on artists, and artists aren't any different than regular people. They
Well,
face run-of-the-mill challenges, but I think for folks who make an art, artists, there's something there. You're emotionally laying something out, and perhaps there is something to the idea that there is a touch of madness. As you say, you're always looking up, and you're sort of getting what's sort of coming to you. Not that you have the madness, but there's always something that's a, a part of that. And artists seem to be at risk for having the least amount of safety net to catch them if there's an issue. So,
correct.
I want to pick your brain about, how you're going about supporting musicians, and, talk about that.
Sure. Just to follow up with the thing you just said a second ago is that, the blessing and the curse of this job and the conduit is that when you're hurt and you're feeling pain, you just like everybody, right? It it comes forward in a song you're writing or the playing, so it's one of those things where you don't really want to be in pain and you don't really want to experience darkness, but in some ways you kind of accept it and welcome it in some weird way because you can channel that for the good, like Hell is for Children,
Sure.
something like that.
Yeah.
And so that's the demon, that's the curse, but it's not a demon and it's not really a curse. It's just an instigator, right? You don't want to feel the pain. So if you're writing songs about relationships where they expire and love is lost and everything like that, in order to do that, you got to feel pain. So that's a mess. I'm just saying that's like you even got to go down that line, right? That road with that. So, but for people, let's take for like guitars for vets. My cousin Skeeter, and then I'll go for the other part of your question, what you talked about. My cousin Skeeter, before he went to Nam, he came over to my house. I remember he was playing, and he played on this red Strat, and I'm looking, wow, that's really cool, and he was playing by ear. And I remember my mother goes, "Don't you do what Skeeter does? Don't you play like Skeeter? You got to learn the notes." I go, "Oh, Mom, no, I'm playing by ear. I'm playing by ear, baby." That was cool. And then he went and he got shot in the knee pretty good, and he came out and he was never the same, right? So, so there's a big, strong place in my heart for the vets out there, and guitars can change your life when you start playing. Even if you're not that good and you catch something that's really good, you go, "Oh, I just did that." It releases endorphins. Do you think we do this for no endorphin rush? Heck
Sure.
no, man. I want the endorphins. I get on stage, I've tons of endorphins, right? So, the young people and the stuff that they're going through, I mention this a lot because I lived through it, is that I lived in a basement as a kid because I don't know, it just was the right place to be. My sister had the room upstairs and my parents, but I loved the basement. It was kind of like home, subterranean. It kind of worked for me. And because I had all that neurosis and all that mental sickness stuff that I was going through, right? So it felt really comfortable to be down there. Now I know in this country and all over the world with the suppressed depression that people are living with, where they show no signs of that. Meanwhile, they're hurting terribly. The idea, which I try to use, and when I speak to people, is to sort of try to unlock that a little bit, have them come out and kind of show them that, listen, if I can do this, you could do it. And really, I know that sounds like a cliche and all that, but that's the truth. If I can get through this, anybody can. Anybody can. So you just got to elevate. That's all. Elevate people best you can.
Hi, I'm Coffin Comics cover artist and creator of Carnal Sin of Carnal Confessions, Sorcerer. I wanted to take a moment to talk about the organization SLAM, Support Life and Music. As someone who dabbles in music as well as the visual arts, I know that creativity can sometimes be spawned from some dark places and experiences. I just want you to remember this one thing. You are never alone. I hope you'll join me in supporting Slam, supporting musicians, and supporting their needs. Thank you.
I think it's a great testament to you and giving back like that, but it also speaks to your ability to sort of like the next topic of highs and lows, navigating the highs and lows.
Yes. Right.
There's sometimes you do things and it's not very well received, or sometimes you do things and it's a runaway train. You don't have any sort of control over it. And I would assume that you're sort of grounding in spirituality, and you're wanting to give back. That's a pressure release valve for some of that energy, some of that stuff that gets built up in you. I keep thinking about the Bob Seger lyric when he's talking about every time you get up on stage on the song the Turn the Page, you get up there and you try and give away every ounce of energy. I'm sure that's
Sure.
kind of something like that.
Sure. That's called Jerry Lee Lewis blood. That's what I call it. When I'm on stage, I'm Jerry Lee Lewis blood, because that guy just when he hit the stage, he was gonna rip it up. That's what it is.
That's awesome. I love that.
Every time I walk out there, it's the first thing I think. Jerry Lee Lewis blood right there.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I love how actually, like Mark said, like you also you can be that intense, but also be cool-headed, like when something goes wrong, and kind of just soldier on it and keep everything running. So that's a fantastic combination of things. Some people just, like you said, they lean in with their head first and go crazy, but then aren't really able to kind of step back and manage disaster. So hats off to you.
It's by learning. Let's just say that I wasn't always like that. I tried my best. No, I snapped many times, but only way you move forward is you snap and you realize you made a mistake and then pick it up from there, right? So
Sure.
it's just being aware. The most important thing I try to get across to people is just be aware of the moment you're in. Respect that moment. Be aware of things. Look to improve. Try to elevate. Think before you speak. That's stuff that's important.
Respect the moment is absolutely something that you are so consistent with. I'm
trying, Mark. I try the best I
can. You're doing a great job. For young people who may be watching this or may get a chance to see a part of this, if someone's getting into the business, what advice would you give them?
The advice I would give them is don't let anybody live rent free in their head. Nobody take up vacancy in your head, because that's the biggest killer. Because if you, first of all, in the public eye and everything else, you're exposing yourself, right? So even on stage, you're exposing yourself. Don't listen to anybody who has a negative comment, because there's a lot of people have negative comments. They're just mirroring themselves through another person, right? So that's the thing. Don't have people live rent free in your head. That's the most important thing. Don't let people bully. It's the hardest part of life right now for people, because the internet is filled with cowards and good people. I mean, but the cowards sometimes can be the loudest, right? And sometimes it says a terrible comment on somebody's post or whatever, and it's saying something that you don't like something is fine. It's all good. Nobody's got to love everything. It's all good. You have opinions, but when it's nasty. So my thing is just don't let any of that. Channel it and put it in the right lane. That's it. Write a song about it.
I needed you 2 nights ago, Neil. Where was this?
I don't know, man. I probably needed myself, but I wasn't there.
Well, I've dominated the conversation here, and I just kind of want to stop for a minute. Jack, I know you've interjected a couple of times, but I would certainly love to give you the opportunity if you've got some follow-ups here with Neil.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. No, I mean, this is a fantastic conversation to be a fly on the wall for. So I love it. And actually, you've answered a lot of the things I want to talk about. But actually, so I want to, Neil, do want to ask, I want to take something that Mark said earlier and kind of parlay it. So as a grandfather and as a father of daughters and, and as a husband, even if you're touring with your wife, how do you kind of, what is your advice for everyone and how do you be the best dad and grandpa you can possibly be, in while balancing everything else in your life?
Hmm. I, I don't see any of it as a challenge. I mean, it's, hmm, how do I answer that and sort of make it so it's helpful in some way? Um, I love the innocence of children. I love children, right? And everywhere I go, of course, I got tattoos. I got this, I'm always like frowning because I'm intense and stuff like that. And I could look scary to some people, not children. They're not afraid. They wave, they smile, and it's like really, it's such the innocence is spectacular. So I just think you know, you're either you're either one of those people. I always wanted to be a father. I always wanted to be a grandfather. Um, you know, uh, I when I met Patricia, uh, I knew that we had something special together. Her and I. It was electric and on stage, and we created a family. And um, it's just I think it's just you have to be. It's just who you are as a person, right? It doesn't change just because you play an instrument and you know you step into the creative part of writing songs and doing writing books and all this other thing. Doesn't you can't change who you are, right? Well, you can. I shouldn't say that. You can't change who you are, but it never felt nothing was weird about it. I mean, I didn't care. I don't, I mean, it's exposure. You got to live through this world like kind of naked. You got to be, not afraid of being exposed, right?
Yeah.
Who you are. So that's kind of. I wish I had an answer that somebody can use and be helpful to, but I can't. I mean, this is my bass player. He was married once. That didn't work out, and he's been single forever. He goes on dating apps. He does all kinds of goofy shit out there, and he always said, "Man, I want to get what you get." I says, "Man, you could have had that what I had. You just it's maybe that's not in there. It's okay. You know, um, you know, and also the thing with Patricia too is really important to remember that when her and I met, it was a professional relationship, and that's what it was. The lock it was an absolute perfect lock because we were able to connect on the spiritual plane of music. In other words, the idea that I did one thing, she did the other, and by joining together, we created this one thing, and we had ultimate respect for each other, and we knew what we wanted to do as two to become one, and that's why that worked. And when that was so powerful, it was inevitable that that part of the thing would create a personal relationship because of the intensity. This ain't a normal thing. I mean, this ain't normal. I know that, but it just happened in this lifetime. Just saying.
That's goals. No, I think that's a great answer. I know you're saying you wish you had a better answer. I think that people can absolutely look to that. So I think, yeah, I think you said it really, really well. So I appreciate the answer. I think it's about the love and the respect. I mean, that word keeps coming up in this conversation, but I think it's it's perfect. It's a
Yeah.
perfect
And there's
word.
another word too that's important too, is that confidence and security. Because if you're confident and you're secure, if that you got that, respect's easy. If you're not confident and you're not secure, there's no way that's going to happen. I don't care if in a band, in a relationship, it's not going to happen. And look at all the bands that break up. They work, they got 5 years in them. They're great bands, and then I can't be around this person. I can't be. Well, who knows what's going on there, right? So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Neil, I've probably told you this, but I'm extremely thankful for our professional partnership. I've worked with you on more than one occasion. This
Yeah.
isn't the first time you and I have worked together. And, I'll go back to one of the things, look, 45 million records, 5 Grammys, you're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You are approachable. That there is nothing about any of those superstar stats that crawls into, working with you. You are one of the most grounded and down to earth people that I have ever worked with. I saw you just recently at the Sunset Marquee. We did that great event. I was having a conversation with someone, and I was telling them a story about you talking about you bought a guitar, and it turned out that it happened to belong to Brian Wilson.
Correct.
And that was just such an amazing story. But hearing you talk about that, and hearing you talk about those people because you were there and you knew those people, you're so incredibly genuine, and that sort of working partnership, when you get into that mode, you're all in. It's been tremendously easy, and I want to thank you for that.
Oh, I appreciate that. It's a lot of kind words you got right there. Well, thank you. I mean, I, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I used to say this too, in the relationship, especially with Patricia. I mean, I've done so many other things. Work with Beth Hart and the Del Lords were phenomenal. John Wade, Kenny Loggins.
Yeah.
A bunch of people, right?
Sure.
And if you're in a relationship, personal relationship, and a business relationship, I always used to say this, and it was probably wrong, is that one person has to be assertive, the other one has to be passive. So in the family life, I was the passive guy. Do this, sure, okay, no problem, no. But in the music side, I was assertive. So when I opened that studio door and I let people in and I locked that, I was the only person that had the key. And when I got them in there, I says, here's what we're gonna do.
Time to get to work.
Very not egotistical, not dictatorship, none of that. But I have an idea, hear me out. When you have an opinion, tell me what it is. But I'm gonna lead this. Here we go. We're gonna go. So I used to think that was good in relationships too, but I disagree with myself. I think people in a relationship, personal one, you have to be assertive and passive together, jointly.
It's partnership.
Yeah, partnership.
Yeah.
I know you've got one project waiting in the wings, and I want to talk about that just very quickly.
Yes.
You've got My Grandma and Grandpa Rock. That is a children's book that is releasing on the 9th of September. As a matter of fact, you and Pat are gearing up to go on a book tour. Can you give us some details?
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, I've done more PR for this book than I think I've done in a record in years. Like these people are, I mean, I can't even tell you how many books we had to sign, which is really weird because they say, when you sign that many books, your hands are going to hurt. I says, no, my hands won't hurt. They're not going to hurt because I got a strong grip. I worked hard, physical stuff I used to do with my father. I mean, I got strong hands, but you know what happens? Your brain goes smooth. You forget how to sign your name. You literally got to get up, walk around, and come back. You can't write it anymore. I think we did close to 8,000 books.
Oh,
and we did, I think, about 4,000 one afternoon, like 4 hours or something. I mean, it was like a factory thing, So, so we're going to be signing books and seeing people in the major cities, Los Angeles, Chicago, New York. I think we're in Florida, we're in Georgia, we're in Jersey, Connecticut. I think we're all over the place. For about 10 days, I think, in September.
and if people want to find out where you're going, where can they find that information?
Yeah, you can find that on Facebook and all the social media stuff. It'll be plastered everywhere.
Okay.
The locations for if anyone would like to come and see us talk about My Grandma and Grandpa Rock, which is kind of fun.
I know you guys went on your customary summer tour. You have any dates coming up before the end of the year?
Yeah, we have three. I think we have 3 shows in September too. One was the Bourbon event.
You're doing Bourbon and Beyond.
Bourbon and Beyond. Yeah, we're doing that one. Got to get the folks on the Bourbon Trail going and get them in the right place. And then a couple, three gigs then, and then a month with Bryan Adams in November We'll
Oh,
be up
that's right. Yes, the
for
Brian
about a
Adams
month.
tour. Yeah,
For about a month, something like that. Yeah, that's it.
excellent.
And then that this year's done, and next year I'm gonna have to start rolling right away with recording immediately. So I got a lot of stuff, a lot of songs I got to put down. So
All right, I'm going to take a risk, Neil, and I'm going to poke you here.
okay,
When are we getting that Christmas album?
yeah, I know that Christmas records. I have everything written. Every song is now written. It's I have to execute it. This is the part. I see. Here's the thing. I wanted to wait until I had everyone written. I have that, right? So now I'm going to use the holiday period to just get in the spirit of things and just kind of work it out. Maybe I'll start recording one in this year here coming up. At the end, December, November. I don't know. So,
I'm not going to put all my eggs in one basket, but when you release the Christmas album, you got to come back and you got to let me interview you again,
sure.
because that's going to be a celebration, because that's been a long time in the works.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a long time because you know what it is. I just want to make the songs right, and it's like I said before. If anybody doesn't know the meaning behind it, it's really not just like a Christmas record. It's a holiday record spanned over October, November, December, January, a little bit of February, when everything changes in people's lives. So the songs they're not all talking about Frosty the Snowman. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's not that. It's about what you go through, folks go through, breaking up, getting back together again, coming home, difficulties, challenges, passing of life, all those emotions that exist in there. Sad songs. Some are sad, some are happy, some are funny. It's just a combination of everything.
I got to Venmo you $20 for taking the bait, because that's perfect, because that makes a ton of sense, because that's a big part of the message of slam is the things that you do to cope. And everybody, I think, has the holiday blues at one point in time. So
Definitely.
maybe
It goes great, and it goes good, dark, medium. It goes all over the place. People get depressed when it's over. People get wound up ready for New Year's Eve. I'm going to change my life for the first 2 weeks in January. Yeah, that's about as long as it lasts. then you're back to zero again, or not. Maybe you follow through with it this year.
back to
Gives you
your old
hope.
self.
It's all
for
about
sure.
hope. Yeah.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
about
excellent. I'll go back to Jack one last time,
Okay.
and then Neil, I'd love to give you sort of the final words of wisdom after that.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm on the spot because again, you guys have done an amazing job. You covered a lot. So let me one quick comment. I love, when people say like holiday record, you go, okay, cash grab. But what you just said is the opposite of that.
Oh,
There's a
no.
lot of integrity.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, there's depth and integrity to that. So yeah, you're not just re-recording Jingle Bell Rock for the 8
Oh,
millionth
no.
time.
No, there's not. I don't have any cover song on there. They're all new songs, original songs. Yeah. No, that's not what this is about. And I don't have. Listen, with any material I do and record, I want a lot of people to listen to it. It would be great if a lot of people listen to it. But before you can do something and release it, it's like a baby, a child. You got to love that yourself. So that record will be done. I will love it. I hope people like it and listen to it. If they don't, I'm going to like it. And that's what you got to do. Just do it and have fun, right? So, yeah, it's not about a cash thing. In fact, money's going to be going to so many organizations for that. It's not about that. It's
Love
about
it.
the songs and the music. Yeah.
Love it.
All right. Well, let me say, you've answered this question about 100 times in this episode.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to ask you to repeat yourself 100 times. But the question I always ask on the show is, what is your advice for people who are in a dark spot, or maybe in despair, or maybe struggling? What's your advice? And again, you've already said a bunch of stuff to this end. So just if you have anything that you would respond to that, if someone said, what's your advice for people who are in a dark spot and struggling to find meaning and hope and get out of despair?
Yeah. Well, usually people find religion when they're in their darkest moments, right? I would suggest to find the spirituality, no matter what it is, in the dark, not the darkest moment, because the darkest moment is going to be the easiest one to be able to go there, because you're going to be so dark. You're going to need help. I need help. Try to go when you're right in the middle. Try to find that, because then it'll be there for you. So you won't get accelerated into that dark place. But if you happen to get there, If you happen to get in a dark place, reading will get you out of it. Read something positive. Find something that you can connect with. Pick up a pencil. There's most of the time when people fall into the dark places, there's a part of their being, whether it's an artistic or creative side of them, that's screaming to get out. You know, educate yourself. You know, it's not about, you know, I'm not saying that don't pick one religion or the X. I mean, if that helps you, but that's not I'm not looking, forget the crutch. You're not looking for a crutch. You're looking for spirituality. I mean, I can't say it any easier than that, because that is the truth. I Ching, all you got to do is open that book up. Open a book up and pick whatever hexagram is when you open it up, have the question in your head, and read that 2 pages long. It's going to give you the answer. And if you do that, I'll give you an example of that. In 1978, I thought my life was through. I wouldn't be a musician. I wouldn't be a successful musician. You probably heard me say this before many times. I was going to get married, have a couple of children. I was going to play piano in cocktail bars, clubs on the weekends. And I would be that stay-home father, work and play music on the weekends. Just going to give up, really close to that. So I'm reading the I Ching, open the book up, I start reading it. I come into a very spiritual place. I have a really positive attitude, but I'm not sure what's going to happen. I go to the club I'm playing at, the Brown Derby. I pull in. Every time I play in, I was there for 3 weeks playing. Every time I come in, I have to park. You're a guitar player. I had to park the car very far away, had to carry my guitars in there, and it would be freezing cold, and I would drop one, and I bang my fingers. I get mad. It's like, all this stuff. But not this one day. The one day I drive in, the parking spot opens right in the front of the restaurant. I sat in my green 63 Impala. I lit a cigarette. I had the window cracked. I smoked it. I says, you know, something's going to change today. Walked out of the car, put the cigarette up, did a set, took a break. Somebody saw me, says, would you be interested in auditioning for the Rick Derringer Band? That moment changed my life. And then when I saw that that could happen from the positive thing of the spirituality, locking, it was full expanse. And it never stopped until it did. And I had a very dark period. Dark, it happened 3 years later. But I didn't have the book. So the idea is whatever spirituality you find, or no matter what it is, and maybe you read a really positive book and it puts you in the right spot, you can't put it down. You can never stop going there. If you do, you can fall in a dark hole again. So that's the thing. Once you lock it, stay locked. There's second chances are good, and they happen, but not 3s and 4s all the time.